was thinking about was one of the times when resilience struck me the most, and it became like a sort of template. And it was, I was in my very early 20s, and I lived in a place called Blackpool, which is a seaside resort on the northwest coast of England. And I traveled over to across the Pennines, and I traveled over to see Dr. Feelgood, who were an emerging R&B band at the time, and I was a big fan of them. And I traveled over and I'd hitchhiked there. The concert finished about 10:30, and I'd missed the last bus, and it's about 50 miles. So I thought, well, I'll hitchhike home. I'll hitchhike back. And it was winter, and I was wearing a jacket that was suitable for summer. So I started hitchhiking, and it wasn't very successful because it was late at night. And I kind of ended up in the middle of nowhere. I'd really no idea where I was, other than it's the middle of nowhere. And it's very cold, and I've got a very thin jacket on. This is quite a bleak scenario.
It is,
And
yeah.
I was walking through this place in the middle of nowhere for about 3 miles. There's no cars, it's completely, everyone's asleep. And I thought, well, I'll have to find a barn to sleep in because that's my only option because I can't carry on walking because I'll freeze to death. Anyway, in the distance, I could see some car lights. Must have been a mile away, and it got closer and closer to me. I thought it's coming in this direction. Great. I have to stop this car. Anyway, as the car got near, I saw it was a taxi. I had no money. I thought, okay, he's going to stop. And he did. And he said to me, where are you going? I said, Blackpool, but I've no money. He said, get in. So I got in the back of the taxi, and all the windows steamed up. It was like there's so much cold air coming off me. And I fell asleep. And an hour later, he woke me up. And I said, where are we? He said, we're in Blackpool. I said, how come? He said, well, I live here. He said, come with me. And took me into a cafe and bought me bacon and eggs and a cup of tea and sent me on my way.
Wow.
And he was a generous stranger. And the moment stayed with me forever because it kind of taught me that however difficult a situation might be, help is nearby.
Mm.
Help is invariably nearby, and you do not know what form or shape that help will take. But nevertheless, things can happen that can move you from this situation to that situation suddenly and unexpectedly in the most surprising ways. And to always hold the door open with faith and hope that something better is about to occur. You
Mm.
do not know yet what form it's going to take. And in that walk, I remember feeling not wavering, in other words, that this is going to be okay, without knowing how it's going to be okay. And it taught me to always, always, always hold this line of steadfastness.
Mm.
Whatever the situation, however dark and difficult it might be, to hold this line of steadfastness. Because if you hold the line of steadfastness, it keeps you close to the what next. It keeps you close to the rescue, the help, the liberation from that situation, the emergence of a new possibility. And if you waver away from the steadfastness, it
Mm.
draws you away from that next point in time where help might reveal itself or whatever that might look like. And it was and because the moment was so visceral, feelable, it's like every cell in my body got got it. And the moment lived on beyond its lifetime. because it felt like a life lesson in how resilience plays out. And it's multi-theatered expression. It's not like a one thing. Well, it just feels like it has so much variance in what we might consider resilience to be. And that for me was a resilience moment to hold fast to something whilst the winds of change blow, because you do not know what's next in this sequence of events. So stay close in that moment to a point of stability, for in the next moment, a taxi might appear out of nowhere, going exactly where you're going,
Yes.
with a driver who wants to buy you bacon and eggs,
Yes.
rather than sleeping in a barn and being discovered by a farmer with a shotgun,
Yeah.
thinking you want to steal his hens. So it was such a like visceral moment
Yeah.
that everything that's happened since, and there's been a lot, particularly when you're self-employed, where so many ups and downs occur and so many things that happen that you didn't know were going to happen. If you're
Mm.
holding to this, okay, it's where I am now. The winds of change are blowing hard, but coming up next is something I don't know what's going to happen or how it's going to happen, but I'm holding to the faith that good will occur. And that feels to me part of the constitution of resilience. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's an incredible story. It's very colorful, although maybe most of it was in black night. And it inspires me very much. And I think it's true. I have tried to come to choose colors to go with the resilience. And one of them is gold, representing stability. And I think this story is exactly about this unwavering inner guidance and belief, you call it faith, that things will turn out for the best. Very powerful story. And it immediately reminded me of at least one story, a few stories actually, where I was in very special circumstances, that I was on a different continent, and for relational reasons I lost my place to stay. So I was given a place to stay somewhere, and I was sleeping behind in the midst of boxes, where I got the realization that it's not that difficult in our world to lose your home or to really get into trouble. And that was a lesson of humility and non-judgment about people who are without a home, because it's so easy to lose it or to just miss an essential, well, it's actually the stability to know where you're going.
Mm.
And although I felt at ease in the circumstance, for me, the vulnerability of life and of where you end up was the most salient feature of that story. So I think you're blessed that at a young age you already gathered this diamond of, you can always hold on to this inner stability and to believe, to have the hope and the faith that the winds of change will bring you to a better situation. I would call this a life-centering story.
Because what I was thinking about is resilience in the 20s versus resilience in the 30s 40s, 50s, and 60s. And how does the resilience change, or does their experience of it change? For example, in the 20s, my adventures in experiencing life would be different to the adventures in the 30s.
Yeah.
The adventures in the 50s are different again. They're not quite as expansive, as in traveling, outgoing, and so on. But nevertheless, the winds of change still blow hard. And the resilience or the theatre of it has a different expression. But at its core, at its base, it's still built around and founded on the same principles.
Yeah.
And I think it becomes engraved in such a way that it can't be changed because you now know this to be a truth. That when the winds of change blow hard, if you hold fast and steady, around the corner, a taxi will appear out of nowhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
but in a different form. So in that moment of holding steady, like, what's your behavior? What's your attitude? What's your humor? What's your overview? What's your self-talk? What's your I've been here before recognition, cognizance that keeps you aware that you're still on this line of resilience, and you will always be tested if you're trying to go to the edge of your talent. The
Yeah.
winds of change will always blow hard.
Yes, I believe that. Yes.
So the resilience will be your faithful companion in those moments, often alone.
You were talking about you will always be tested. In what ways is your experience? Are you tested in your resilience? Because
Yeah.
apparently you've early in life you found this beacon of resilience in yourself, actually. So in what ways have you experienced that you're tested? You've been
Well,
tested.
I've always wanted to walk the line of originality, and whatever I do in creativity, in art, in theatre, in business, I've wanted to try and walk an original line, as in what's the test for originality here? In other words, if it feels original to me, it becomes energizing because I'm testing the limits of my talent, as in other words, the gifts that I've been given. And so the more you walk the line of originality, the more you're pushing back resistance that might want to do things that we've always done it this way. But no, let's go beyond that and see what's beyond that as a journey of self-discovery. But then you need a greater resilience because the resistance is stronger, either internally or externally. So there's a relationship between those two things. Walking the line of originality or testing oneself, or walking to the edge of one's talent, and the resilience that's needed to do that.
Right.
Because you're not walking a normal path.
My intuition says there's a third factor. You're mentioning resilience and the line of originality. What could be the third factor that plays a part in this game?
Well, I would say it comes from the unseen
The unseen.
that would prompt, that would want it to be that way, that would encourage, but might also be there for you if things get difficult.
Right.
Because origination comes from, well, in my belief, a spark from the universe that triggers the person who is caught by it and then goes, wow, let's try that. Let's put that into action. Then when you get into trouble, something might come and rescue you. Or what if the originating signal also has a rescuing function and capability and will be there for you if you get into difficulty? So
So
that for me is where faith comes in, to hold to something that I'm not alone. Something is there prompting you, supporting you, companioning you, even if you can't see it.
So the line of origination would challenge you, but it would also somehow rescue you if you would be in danger, if you get into danger.
That's how it feels.
Right. That's a very liberating thought, I must say.
What do you find liberating about it?
Well, you defined the originating line, originating signal you were talking about.
Mm.
You define it as something that gives you energy, right?
It's a spark
It's a spark.
that triggers inspiration.
I wonder, see, I wonder if fear somehow plays a part in there. And I'm asking that because the way you speak about the originating, the spark, and trying to be with that. Well, it's actually, it causes more hope in me at this moment, actually, than liberation. I'm looking for how you relate to knowing you want to do something that is, you feel urged to do something, you feel spurred to try something new. At the same time, you know that there's a risk somehow. There's a risk, but the strength of the spark is stronger than the fear to fail or the fear to make a mistake. So I'm actually wondering how your spark is stronger than the fear. And you're a business owner, so you have been in the place of trying to do something new, but also knowing that there's a risk to it. So how has this been an inspiration, and how have you developed the persistence to keep trying new things? Or have you already answered this actually by saying the originating road is also the road that helps me when I get stuck or in danger?
When I went to the circus for the first time at the age of 7, I saw Charlie Caroli at Blackpool Tower Circus, which was a very famous circus. And Charlie Caroli was the world's most famous clown. And Charlie had a routine with his sidekick called Paul. Charlie was portly, fat, and Paul, his sidekick, is thin and willowy and played the oboe. And they have a custard pie routine. And Charlie's running around the ring, chasing after Paul with a custard pie. Paul is fast and nimble and jumps over the ring apron into the audience. Charlie stands on the ring apron with his custard pie, throws the custard pie, it misses Paul and hits an audience member smack in the face. Every cell in my body lit up with light. It was an incandescent joy because a member of the audience who's paid money to come into the circus has just been hit in the face with a custard pie.
Yes.
He broke all the rules. It was incredible.
It was not a mistake, it was on purpose.
For sure. I turned out later that the person in the audience is a stooge.
What is that?
They're part of the team.
All right. Okay.
I don't know this at 7 years old.
No.
He's broken all the rules.
Right.
The circus doesn't take place inside the ring.
No.
It can take place anywhere.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. And the audience are part of it.
That's right.
And every cell in my body was lit up with light.
Yeah.
So that Charlie Caroli moment became a living theatre. not to chase after another clown with a custard pie,
No.
but it's like, where are the limits?
Yes.
The limits are inside the circus.
Yes.
It's all the circus.
So this was a liberating moment for you as a
It was a
7-year-old.
life-changing moment,
Life
a
change.
life-defining moment. A coding
Right.
got lit up.
Yes.
And when that coding gets lit up, the life of that coding goes to every cell in the body.
Right.
You become, that coding becomes part of you. So the Charlie Caroli moment is like a moment of spontaneous theatre, joy, playfulness, breaking the rules, where are the boundaries, and everything is possible.
Right.
That's
And
all catalyzed inside the coding.
right.
So it lives on. And so the coding has a life inside of you.
Right.
So every decision you make, decision is in code. It's an anagram. Decision is in code, comes
Right.
from a coding.
Right.
The coding reveals its intelligence to you,
Yes.
which you then respond to. You are living a living theatre of different codings,
Right.
or
The question.
lights, or
Sorry.
lights,
Right.
living lights. These
Right.
are the living lights that make you the only you there's ever been in the history of the universe.
Right.
And our work, I believe, our job as human beings is to discover these lights and switch them on.
Yes.
So they get bright through us and flare through us and illuminate, become illuminated through us and shine through us and become incandescent through us, and 23 variations of light
Wow.
for each pair of chromosomes.
So how have you come to decode these moments in your life, even as a 7-year-old,
Sure.
as a very important vitaminizing ingredient for your life? How have you come to determine those moments as such?
I created code cards.
Code cards.
Yeah. Do you want me to show you them?
Yes, please.
Really, these are code cards which encapsulate moments in my life when these are moments I remember forever.
Wow.
Moments when lights get switched on. Moments where something special happened. And I coded them to give them to help me understand the patterns in my life,
Hmm.
the sequences in my life that were important, to then see what do those patterns represent in terms of what might be the living lights that live inside of me, which then enables me to know if I'm on track with my life or not, according to how brightly these lights are switched on. This is the code card. This is the Michael Banks moment, it's called. So when I was at school, my friend was called Michael Banks,
Hmm.
and he'd gone into hospital. He was poorly, he was unwell. So I decided to draw a picture for him of planes. He loved planes. I wasn't interested in planes. But when I was drawing this picture for him at home, I remember stepping into his world. It felt like I've just stepped into his world because his world was different to mine. I thought this is really interesting, and I couldn't define it at the time. Only later could I give it some words, as in, what's the feeling when you step into somebody else's world? What does it feel like? And this moment became a coded moment because many years later, I went on to become a coach and then a sports psychologist, stepping into other people's worlds, helping them understand what made them them.
Yeah.
And it began when I was 7.
Wow.
And the moment was so strong. It was like, wow, this is what it feels like to be another human being. And
Wow.
it was the first time I'd experienced it. And so that coding has lived with me ever since. Is what makes you you and what makes you different to me?
Yeah.
And how can I help you be more you
Yes.
as part of the sentiment that goes with that? And it began at the age of 7. But something comes over the person that the person can't explain or describe, but something overcomes them and then lives in them if they look after it
Yeah.
and value it and take care of it. And that's where the resilience comes from. It's almost like the resilience is inside the coding. It's inside the life of the thing itself that must come from somewhere higher than human, as in the universe, and thus can't be erased or messed with because it comes from somewhere higher than oneself.
Wow. It is so curious. I taught this afternoon, and my student, young boy, 15 years old, I asked him, I don't know how we got to the subject, but I asked him, do you want to be like others, or do you want to be different? And I told him, I discovered when I was young, I always was different from others. And I thought about it and I thought, okay, I do it on purpose. I just want to be different. But in later years, I discovered, no, it's not that I want it. I just am different. And then I asked him, because we were making music and expressing ourselves, I asked him, do you want to be like others, or do you want to be different in a way of finding your own way to express in music? And he said, both. Sometimes I want to be like others, but sometimes I want to be different, and I'm still finding out where. And it's so strange that this came about with the student this afternoon.
Yeah.
And you were talking about your unique, special way of being different from other people. Not only do you talk about it, you have actually fashioned it in cards, code cards, to make the important moments of your life visible, tangible.
Yeah.
Maybe you look at these cards every day. I don't know. And my experience is that important, life-changing moments do come up once in a while, especially when you talk about those moments with other people. But I wouldn't say that I think of an important, life-changing moment or sequence of moments every day in my life. And I come to see through this conversation how important it is to be aware of these moments and to cherish them and to use them as seeds, as you did for the resilience of this night being picked up by a cat. How important it is to cherish these and to be able to escape the number psychology of our times. So I find it fascinating and very inspiring that you have expressed these unique bits in this way.
Yeah, thank you. I think the story is the most unexpected and incredible things can happen that you could not possibly plan for.
No,
And that therefore your part in life is
yes,
a partnership. It's a singular view is common,
yes,
but a partnership view allows the I think the resilience to form up around, well, it's not just you.
no,
You didn't order a taxi.
right, yes.
It appeared.
That was the third factor that I was asking before for.
That's correct. That's the third vector.
Well,
That's where the things you can't see reveal themselves, and
yes,
then you can see. But before you can see them, when you can't see them, there is an attitude, a mindset, a sentiment, a feeling to hold to of Something good this way comes. Beyond
Yeah.
what I see is what I can't see, but what I can't see holds something so rich and vibrant and magical that I will hold to with the belief that is nearby,
Yes,
because that is what life has proven.
that's right.
That's the proof of living in this part of the universe.
Absolutely.
It's irrevocable.
It may just be around the corner. Don't give
Absolutely.
up. Don't give up. Don't
Never
give
give
up
up.
now. You may be so close to the solution, to the rescue. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's never, very rarely in the manner in which you think it's going to reveal itself.
Mm.
And magic can occur. I'll tell you a final story. Um, when I lived in London, I lived in a squat, and the people I lived with in the squat, we didn't have a lot of money, so we'd go down to the dump at the bottom of the flats. A dump is where people in the flats would leave things they didn't want
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
And one Friday morning, we found in the dump a bag of duck's feathers, 3 pairs of roller skates, and a blank cassette tape, a cassette tape. So we thought, great, let's take the duck's feathers, the roller skates, and the cassette tape back up to the flat and see what's on the tape. So we put on the tape, and it was a reggae version of Swan Lake. Boom, 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 boom. I thought, wow, this is incredible. There's only one thing for it. We're going to make duck's masks out of these feathers, go into London and do
Oh,
a ballet on roller skates dressed as
yeah,
ducks to a reggae version of Swan Lake.
yeah, of course. Of course. Yes.
So we went to London at 5 o'clock, London Bridge, packed with people. All the trains are cancelled. Everyone stood around this big concourse. We thought, we'll do the ballet and roller skates here. So put the cassette tape on, boom, 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 and do this ballet. None of us can ballet dance or roller
No.
skate. Apart from that, it was good, yeah? So we get down around. There's people watching, 1,000 people watching. When it finished, people applauded. And a man came out the audience. He said, excuse me, my name's Freddie Bannister. I'm a promoter, music promoter, and I'm promoting the biggest concert in England this summer, which is the Rolling Stones at Nebworth. I'm promoting the Stones. Would you
Yeah.
like to come on stage with the Rolling Stones?
You're Rolling Stones.
When they do their encore, you can't always get what you want. They're going to release 1,000 doves, and all these magicians and fire eaters and stilt walkers are going to come on stage. Will you come on stage and do the ballet and roller skates with the Rolling Stones?
Yeah, the rolling feathers. Yes.
We said, well, obviously we're going to be very busy this summer with the show, you know. We'll have to see what we can do.
Yes.
Anyway, that's why on 3 months later, we're on a bus that morning headed to Nebworth to go on stage with the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
So I wasn't even, that didn't even excite me, because what I was more excited about was, how does magic happen?
Yeah.
Can you put those two things together? One moment, we're going to go down to the dump
Yeah.
and we found three things that then connects us with the
Yeah.
Rolling Stones promoter.
Yeah.
Was our wish that morning to project to being found by the Rolling Stones promoter? No. But these two worlds collide
Yeah.
because they're on the same frequency
Mm.
of Charlie Caroli's spontaneity, playfulness, break
Yeah.
the rules, the circus is everywhere, attracts someone who's looking for some, you know, different entertainers to come on stage.
Yeah.
Those two worlds collided and met in that moment. And then that was like a massive coding experience of, how does magic occur? You don't go searching for it. You build something that attracts it
Mm.
by being true to who you are, or being true to the Charlie Caroli coding,
Yeah.
or the Charlie Caroli lives on in a new way. It lives on through you. You can't help it. It's
Mm.
so strong. It's irrepressible
Yeah.
and has a life of its own and flares, and then attracts the Rolling Stones from a dump in Deptford. How do things occur?
Right. You know, it evokes in me a story that I've heard many, many years ago. And it's a story, I won't tell it to great length now, but it is a story that speaks of very small gems that you find on the way in your life. And by keeping collecting them, like you've been doing with your coding cards, you become so open to seeing new gems and bigger gems, so that you are collecting a whole, could say, garden of gems. So I'm very interested to hear, but that must be for another time. How,
Episode 2.
what?
Episode 2.
Yes, for how your coding of resilience, how it has evolved over time. And you were talking about 23 chromosomes. So I'm looking forward to the next episode to hear more about how you've developed these different layers, maybe different elevations. I don't know how you think about it, of, for example, resilience or originality, how you've developed them over time. Well, I want to thank you for this conversation. It was fascinating and positive.